You, my friend, are a riddle to me. Because I've run your face and your prints through every database we have. You know what we found? Nothing. So, why don't we start with your name?
47.
It's not a name.
No, but it is mine.
Hello, and welcome to Film Rant. Today we review Hitman Agent 47, directed by Alexander Bach. I'll mention that I've never played a Hitman game, so I can't really review the film based on its original property, so I'll review it as a standalone film. I know roughly what the Hitman character should be like though, so I will comment on how I think they handled him. As usual, this review is spoilerific, so proceed with caution. So let's get down to brass bold tacks here and talk about the man himself, Agent 47, otherwise known as the Hitman. Now, one thing I do know about Hitman is that there is not a single essence of hair on his big rounded gleaming noggin, and clearly you can see here that this dude is not 100% bald. It should be pretty easy to cast a totally bald dude. It's a minor thing, but I know some people who this would piss off. Didn't bother me too much, but it's worth mentioning. I'm fairly sure that Hitman is meant to be stealthy too. I mean, he probably wouldn't be a very good assassin if he wasn't. In this movie though, he's about as stealthy as a KKK member at a gay pride parade. Ultimately, you can argue that as long as he kills his target, by any means possible, then he's done his job. Yeah, he has, but anybody could just walk up to somebody and kill them. There needs to be some exceptional skill for the Hitman character to stand out. He does have some, but stealth is not one of them in this movie. I feel the film needed at least one scene where Hitman was trying to sneak into somewhere. It would have added some much needed tension and diverted us away from the repetition of going in guns blazing that this film has. On that note, I think Hitman should barely be seen at all. I know he's the main character and players of the game will want to focus on him, but think about making him some kind of terrifying foe, a monster if you will. Alien focuses on an alien hunting Ellen Ripley. Now she's the main character, but the film is named after the monster. Imagine that. Agent 47 is a relentless killing machine who's trying to kill whoever. The main character is his target. I'm not sure how the film will be resolved, as I'm not a great writer in any aspect, but imagine how good that film would be. It would truly show the Hitman's power and show him for what he really is, an absolute nightmare to have on your back. You could argue that the film would then be similar to The Terminator, and to be honest, there's parts of this film which are very similar, but I'll get to that later. Hannah Ware plays Katja Van Dies. She's a British girl who's just looking for some guy she knows everything about, except his name. When asked why she wants to find this guy, she says, "I don't know." Okay then, why did you start looking for him then? Good start to this girl's story. We later find out that this guy is her dad, which she somehow didn't know. I think it's a result of her being given enhanced survival powers by her father, which basically turns her into a really shit Mewtwo. She can sort of see into the future by a few seconds by picking up on certain noises and small changes in the atmosphere. We learn her name is not Katja Van Dies, but more Katja Van Dies, which is French for 90. Okay, so she's like an agent, Agent 90. But why is her name in French? Her dad isn't French, she isn't French. It just seemed like it was a bit forced to be a small interesting element to the plot. Anyway, she jokingly says she's 43 better than Agent 47. He agrees that she is more powerful than he is, with faster reactions and more honed skills in killing. But not once in the film do we see that she's any better than Agent 47. We see that she's probably about equal, but nothing tells us that she's any better, certainly not 43 better. It should have been like the TX versus the T1000, but trying to find out what makes her better than Agent 47 is like looking for the second act of Fantastic Four. It just isn't there. Zachary Quinto took a break from singing in Theory of a Dead Man and plays John Smith, a name which must have taken the writers the lifetime of Gandalf to come up with. At first, he's the guy who attempts to save Katja from 47. We support him and Katja to escape from the Hitman. Eventually we find out he was some kind of double agent working for the Syndicate, whose mission was to gain Katja's trust before whisking her away to his evil overlord so they could use her to find her father to build an army of bald dudes. For the villain of the movie, he really isn't in it very much. He has two scenes where he causes a little bit of disruption. He's then electrocuted by Hitman in the final act, and that's it for him. Until he's revived in the post-credit scene, that is. He's made of metal though, as he has some kind of titanium implant under his skin, so yeah, he's basically a Terminator. And speaking of that, Hitman does parallel Terminator in a lot of ways. As I just mentioned, John Smith comes in to save Katya from the killing advances of 47, so basically we have Kyle Reese coming in to save Sarah Connor from the killing advances of the Terminator. I wasn't expecting this film to be that good, because usually they never are, but when the film started with this dynamic I thought, hey, they're gonna do it, you know, they're gonna make him like a Terminator who's hunting this poor lass, get in! I wasn't fully sold though, because the very first scene shows Hitman talking to some scientist fellow in a lab and letting him live. If he walked in, shot all of the guards, got the info from the guy, and then executed him, and left in a blaze of glory, then I'd be thinking, shit, this guy is the real deal. So when he's chasing Katya and Smith, I'd feel a lot of threat. He carries enough threat to make it entertaining, but without the first scene he would have been a lot scarier. I'm not sure if executing everyone is Hitman's style, however, so I can understand if the film didn't do it to preserve his character. Anyway, the film turns into Terminator 2 when the role reversal comes. We learn that 47 is actually the good guy trying to save Katya from the syndicate agent John Smith. It was a nice twist in terms of plot, but it was then that I knew the Terminator style movie was never going to happen, and my erection slowly began to soften. However, the switch doesn't totally make sense. The end of the chase sees Sylar and Katya driving away from a train station. Hitman plants himself on the roof of said station and brings out his sniper. Smith and Katya are miles away, but Hitman, being a badass killing machine, spots them and takes the shot. The shot hits Katya, but just grazes her arm. Let's be honest though, 47, it wasn't a 360 no-scope drop shot, was it? Not really that impressive. So the audience is led to believe Hitman took the shot, but couldn't quite get the kill shot. Better luck next time, eh? No. After the switch happens, Katya shouts at 47 saying, "You tried to shoot me," to which he replies, "I didn't shoot you, I just marked you." Why, exactly? It's not like he didn't know who she is or what she looks like. The film also didn't express any idea that the bullet contained a tracking device or anything. Seems like a really cheap way to cop out of the chase that doesn't make any sense. Furthermore, there's a part of the chase where 47 throws an unarmed Smith to the ground. If he wanted to save her from Smith, he could have just turned around and shot him there and then, and proceeded to capture Katya. Instead, he totally ignores the dangerous position he has Smith in and tries, again, to shoot Katya. Don't think the writers really knew what they were doing here. One thing the script massively takes for granted is the science. It mentions all of these crazy scientific ways and experiments that result in the characters being the way they are, but the explanations are very half-arsed. It doesn't need to be a massively long scientific explanation like we see in Interstellar, but at least some Eli 5. The film just needed to delve into the science a bit more. It would have grounded the film and made it a bit more believable and added more to it than just guns and explosions. One of my biggest plot flaws though was the whole motivation of Syndicate. They wanted to steal Katya's dad because he's the only guy who knows how to make an army of eggs. Why Syndicate want to make a load of agents is absolutely beyond me when they have Zachary Quinto. Syndicate took one of Katya's father's ideas, the titanium underskin armour, and perfected it. They equip Quinto with it and everything goes well. He even fights 47 at about the midpoint of the movie and beats him. The film makes a point of this as Quinto then asks 47 to say that he beat him. So Syndicate are able to make metal agents that are capable of beating the agents created by Katya's father. Okay then, that makes their desire to create agents about as logical as a lightsaber in a dildo shop. A plus I mentioned for Mission Impossible Rogue Nation was that for an action film, it didn't contain any romance, and neither does Hitman, thank the Lord. I'm glad they didn't make Hitman fall in love with Katya because I think I would have just chunned it everywhere, especially considering their brother and sister, which is revealed through a terrible exposition when Katya's dad said, "I've a lot to learn from you. And your brother," which is then followed by absolutely no reaction from Katya or 47, or the audience really. I didn't care that he was a brother, it's not like he kissed her or anything. A plus for Hitman is the small comedy elements that are in. Yeah, I feel it could have done with a lot more comedy to break down the serious tone of it, but what was there was enjoyable. A joke that springs to mind is where 47 and Katya are investigating a hotel room they've decided to spend the night in. Hitman hangs his jacket up and then begins searching nearby cupboards. Katya asks, "Bombs?" And then he looks at her and judgmentally says, "No, moths. This is Italian cotton. They love it." It was sort of nice to see Hitman deliver a bit of comedy. I'm torn with his character though. I really am. I want him to be this emotionless robotic killing machine, but I also think it serves him well to humanise him, and I can't decide which works better. Rupert Friend's portrayal of 47 is actually one of the best qualities of Hitman. I enjoyed his acting very much. There's a little thing in the script where Hitman and Katya are in a lift with a child and his parents. We see the child is asthmatic, and we already know Katya's dad is asthmatic. He somehow trades the kid's inhaler for a knife. and we wonder why knife crime is on the up, eh? Bit of an odd thing to do though, isn't it? From there, the film focuses on the inhaler more often than it really needs to, so when it came to the end of the film where the inhaler is revealed to be a bomb and blows up the helicopter carrying Katya's father and the head honcho villain dude, it came as no surprise to me. The first time I saw the inhaler after Hitman got it from the kid, I knew it was going to be a bomb. Too easy. I'm not sure if the film was meant to make sure you knew. If so, good job. If not, it was a little too easy to figure out, Mr. Bach, but good effort. Now, in terms of the technical side of the film, I will criticise this for the same reason I criticise Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, for not adding in a shred of realism to car crashes. There's a point in the movie where Zachary Quinto crashes a 4x4 into a rising bollard. He doesn't quite make it, and the car flips into the air and lands on its wheels. It's worth mentioning that when the car hits the bollard, it's travelling fairly fast, at least 60 miles an hour. Well, Quinto just got wrecked, I'm left thinking. But no, it cuts to him raising his head in the car and he looks like a fucking newborn baby with a beard. This criticism is not specific to Hitman, but for God's sake, Hollywood, hire some bloody makeup artists and get some cuts of blood in there. A big plus for me in Hitman was the action scenes. There was nothing quite as memorable as the Burj Khalifa scene from Ghost Protocol or any of the fights from the Bourne quadrilogy, but it was entertaining nevertheless. The Hitman pulls off some amazing shooting, and it's shot nicely. It's a bit ridiculous though. A woman on the next row actually left the screen after 47 did a Neo and bent back and shot two guys, which is understandable. Ultimately, the action scenes are totally forgettable, but when you're sat watching the film, they do entertain well. I don't normally mention this, but I thought the soundtrack for Hitman was great. I love that it gave him a theme, even if it was extremely simple. The intro action sequence contains an absolutely killer track. It's your typical action movie music, featuring the odd Inception horn here and there, but it sounded very industrial and hard-hitting, which mixed with Hitman's killing spree perfectly. It was good enough to make me notice it, so it's definitely something worth mentioning. For a Hollywood film though, I found the CGI to be very subpar. There's many films where you can see it looks a bit naff, or sometimes in good films you can usually guess what's CGI and what isn't. In Hitman, you can easily tell what is CGI and what's real, and that's bad special effects. There's a scene near the start where 47 and John Smith are having a fight on some train tracks. You can actually see where it changes from the actors to fake 3D models. Okay, it's fine to use CGI, but good CGI is unnoticeable, unless it's a helicopter crashing into a large building or something where it's meant to be obvious. There was a video that went viral a few weeks back that was basically saying that people don't hate CGI, they just hate bad CGI, because that's the only kind of CGI people notice. Good special effects artists have a hard job, because they need to make their work as unnoticeable as possible. You are the unsung heroes, guys, except the guys that did Hitman because the CG is awful. I'll end by saying the biggest flaw with Hitman Agent 47 is that it's just average. It's something I won't remember a month from now and probably won't watch again. I honestly think that is its biggest flaw. There's other little things here and there and the odd bit of stupidity, but in no means is it a bad film. At the time of creating this review, it currently stands at 8% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's the same as Fantastic Four. In no way, shape or form is Hitman as bad as Fantastic Four. At least Hitman has a second act and a competent story. It's just not very fresh on you. I can't understand why Hitman has been getting so much hate. It's not a bad film, and it's not a great film. Watch it if you want, but I wouldn't actively recommend it to anybody, nor would I dissuade people from seeing it. Hitman Agent 47 gets 3 frames out of 5. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Film Rant.